We were talking about trending topics, right? And these kind of like viral posts that go live on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. I think another, kind of hot button topic is that around career coaches, resume coaches. Do we need one? If you're a job seeker, like what role does that play? Is it effective in your job hunt?
Yeah.
So, I'm question or my question for you is one, when or if or does a job seeker ever need a coach or a resume writer or something like that? And then, kind of a B note to that is if they do need one, what should they be looking for? Like, what are the
Yeah.
green flags, so to speak? Like, what is the criteria that if you were in that situation that you would be looking for when bringing someone on like that?
Yeah. Great question. I feel like I think about this a lot. I think it goes back to something earlier. Daryl, when you said, I think people are looking for like an answer, a solution, a silver
Right.
bullet. And so when they're not having success, I think a lot of people are just assuming, okay, I just like need to go learn this one thing. I need to go fix that resume. A different resume is going to get my foot in the door and, that sort of thing. And so I think a lot of times people are just looking for a solution. And it's so easy for people to take advantage of that sort of like desperation. I mean, a job search is probably the most vulnerable people can be in their lives, like because your livelihood is attached to it, your ability, your housing, your insurance, like so much of us, your ability to care for your family, like so many things are wrapped up in our employment. I read something that like a layoff affects, especially for men, I guess because of that title, like compensation being so important, but that it hits them, that it has more of an effect on their mental health than and well-being than a divorce. So, I mean,
Wow.
being without a job has huge implications for people. So it's so vulnerable. And then there's so many people that are trying to take advantage of that
Yeah.
financially and convince people that if they just do this one course, if they have that person write their resume. I wrote a LinkedIn post on this a few weeks ago or a few days ago, I think it was over the weekend or something, and had immediately coaches saying, well, then you haven't seen my resume for $1,000. I do this. And I was like,
Wow.
there's nothing you can do
Yeah.
that should cost $1,000 because at the end of the day, a mediocre resume from a qualified candidate is going to go further than the most beautiful resume you've ever seen from an unqualified one. And that
Right.
is just the
100%.
reality. And the biggest issue people are running into is that they're genuinely not qualified for a job that they want. And that sucks. But like, that if you're qualified for a job, like you don't need to spend thousands to obtain that job. So
True.
that's part of it. But yeah, I do think there's a lot of people who are capitalizing on this like vulnerability of people to take
Right.
advantage of them. The things I would look for are people who have had experience in first, I mean, it depends on like what the thing is that you want. If you're looking for um if you don't know what you want in your career, I think a career coach can be great. If you're like, I have all these skills, I don't know what roles to target, I don't know how to navigate a job search, I haven't interviewed in 20 years, I have no idea what I'm doing. I think a career coach can be awesome. They can coach you through figuring out your values, your goals, like they can really help you figure that out. If you have applied to so many jobs that you're truly qualified for and you're never getting an interview, your resume may be the issue. A resume writer could probably, a decent resume writer can write you a good resume that should be
Mm-hmm.
sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think kind of figure out like what it is that you actually need in your search, but don't go and invest in like a $6,000 break into tech course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it's like a lot, like a lot of them are taught by
Yeah.
someone who was in tech for 6 months in a contract role. Like I've seen things like that where people
Totally.
are charging a ton of money and they just don't actually have like the credentials and background to back it up. So, and in terms of like what I'd look for, I would look for people who have done the jobs that you're wanting to do. So if I wanted to become an engineer, I would look for someone who has been an engineer, who has hired engineers for many years, not 6 months, like who's really kind of seen, who's been in the companies I want to get into. Um, I would not come to me. Like, don't come to me if you're interested in a career in engineering. Don't come to me if I'm not a resume writer or career coach, by the way, but if I was, don't come to someone like me. If you're transitioning military, don't
Yeah.
come to me because I don't understand your background. So I'm not going to do it justice. Go to someone who has a military background and has made that transition successfully and is now helping others do that. Like, look
Mm-hmm.
for someone who has kind of done like had the path that you aspire to. Think about the level of experience. Like, I don't want to write off every 24-year-old coach, because there are probably some 24-year-olds who can be a good coach for someone. They can probably be a great coach for another early 20s person. But a 50-year-old job seeker with 25 years of experience should not be hiring someone who is really early in their own career. An early career recruiter has not looked at resumes and helped hire really tenured positions. So you're probably not, they're probably not going to be able to guide you. They're not going to be able to tell you what hiring managers are looking for, because they haven't done it themselves. They haven't seen it. So I think kind of like those are some of the things I'd be looking for.
That's really, really good points, Bonnie. This is my opinion on it. I think it's very easy. It's very easy to spot the kind of legit ones. Like to your point, they have a good background. You can see evidence on their resume that they've had a consistent track record of success. Maybe they're in recruitment and HR before pivoting to this. Maybe they're still in the hiring world, and this is a service that they run parallel to their 9 till 5. And so, but what I've noticed, the popular trend is that career coaching, resume writing is an easy side hustle that you can just grab. You can throw it up on LinkedIn and you can sell your services, because if you have a following and you're confident, and you know how to speak, and those are the people, and we're not going to drop names here, that's not what it's about, but we all know those people on LinkedIn that we've seen that it's very obvious that they were they were a DJ on the weekends, and for the last 20 years they've been a rock DJ in New York City, and all of a sudden out of nowhere comes this HR services, and you're like, hang on a second, where did this pivot come from you were a DJ in the rock industry and now you're in HR
teaching people how to break into a 6-figure career. And so many of those people you've seen kind of a downfall happen of these people come on the scene, they're selling all these services, and then suddenly you start seeing posts like, so-and-so disappeared. Has anyone heard about so-and-so?
Yep.
And I've seen that happen multiple times, where
the last thing I'll add that I think is really important is that if you are going to take on a coach, take on someone that can kind of give you all of the services. So I harp on this a lot, that the resume is a piece of paper at the end of the day. What's more important is, and maybe it's more geared towards a performance coach, someone who can help you with your self-esteem, someone who can help you with communication. We had Amy on recently, and she was one of her biggest strengths was storytelling, right? And I find a lot of success in interviews comes down to being able to tell your story. And so maybe someone that can sit down with you, listen to your story, and help you frame it in a successful way.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, I forgot to say this, it's not exactly a green flag that'll be obvious, but get references. Like, make sure you talk to people, because so many people, it's very easy to fake a text and post it on LinkedIn and say, another happy client. So, or get your friends to leave you 5-star reviews on Trustpilot or something like that. But get some reviews, like ask for before and afters, like really see the quality of work before you invest in someone. And if you're going to hire a coach, do a free one-on-one to kind of get a feel for them and see if you could be vulnerable with them, if you would trust them, feel comfortable with them, if that's like a person that you want to spend an hour a week talking to and learning from. So yeah.
And on that note, Bonnie has a resume writing service.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have a ton to add to what you guys already said, but I think to nail it down, consider the source, do due diligence. Like, those two things will save you from spending a lot of money you don't need to spend. Consider resources outside of LinkedIn. Like, reach out to recruiters and say, hey, what resources are available to me that maybe I don't know about, in regards to my resume or, anything else career related. And to Daryl's point, consider the fact that, the question you should be asking is not, how do I get a better resume, but it's, how do I become a more attractive candidate?